Hi, I'm Richard Friedman, and welcome to my video for June 7th, 2026. Here this evening, we have President Trump in the Oval Office with his nominee for Director of National Intelligence, Bill Pulte, taking the place of Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, he'll be taking over for Tulsi. And here's the introduction to the cartoon as it goes. Richard Trump in Oval Office with ally Bill Pulte has been a strong ally of President Trump's and director. And he's going to keep his title. He's going to stay in that position as director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency. So he's going to have basically two positions here in the Trump administration here out. Okay, and Bill Pulte's additional appointment as acting director of national intelligence. Okay, so here's Bill Pulte here, giving thumbs up to President Trump. Here he is. Okay, Trump reportedly telling him, and President Trump reportedly telling him to start the process of firing large numbers of employees from its office, the ODNI, which is the Office of Director of National Intelligence, okay? Because it is too bloated, too heavy, too much, and he'd like to see it smaller. With Trump adding, I think there are a lot of people in there that shouldn't be there, and also reportedly suggesting Pulte prioritize firing staff who served during the Biden and Obama administrations. So it's implicit here that President Trump saying the most people who shouldn't be there are the people who were in the Biden and Obama administration. They are high on the list of people who shouldn't be there in the first place. Okay, because this is the Trump administration, not the Obama administration. Okay. And not the Biden administration, okay, with adding. Now, regardless of their performance, that's how President Trump sees it in terms of his own perspective here, which we go on with. Because it is too bloated, and okay, I think there are a lot of people, okay, I said that. And also reportedly suggesting that, okay, prioritizing the staff, okay, I said, given the DNI office oversees 18 American intelligence agencies. So that office there coordinates the intelligence. I believe this was established after the 9/11 attacks because of the fact that they found that a lot of the agencies were doing duplicative work. Some had, and they weren't sharing information properly. And so this was put together right after the 9/11. I believe that's so. Because, again, to coordinate intelligence and to avoid duplicative efforts, because they had working on this, working on that, and the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. So the idea was to coordinate intelligence for the American people and to keep us safe, okay? Safer, okay? And that was the idea behind this, the DNI, okay? Okay, and they oversee 18 American intelligence agencies, including the CIA and the National Security Agency, which helps the country track foreign threats as potential cyber attacks. So this is the other agency, the National Security Agency, which is involved in all kinds of foreign threats to the country, and in addition to the potential for cyber attacks, gauging where it's coming from and how it would be brought about from our foreign adversaries. It's not too hard to imagine now where that could come from, okay? And the office also coordinates and shares intelligence with those 18 agencies, with Trump including that Bill Pulte will investigate, quote, rigged elections in his more powerful acting intelligence role, okay? So what we're saying here is that President Trump is saying here, implying here, that there are rigged elections going on throughout the country. Just came back from California, called that a rigged election, and Bill Pulte now is now going to be in charge of the whole U.S. intelligence apparatus. So you can be sure he's gonna be flying out to California in November when those midterm elections come around. Bill Pulte's going to be flying out there. He's going to be flying west out to California. Check it out. Check how things are going out there. You can be sure of that. Okay? And then there was another thing here about Bill Pulte here. And the three, you see what happened is this, that 3 grand juries failed to re-indict New York. This is an example of some of the prosecutions that Pulte sparked from his office there at the Federal Housing Finance Agency. From that office, he sparked a number of investigations, sending it over to the Justice Department for investigation because he was in charge of he was like the mortgage chief at that place, and he had all the trackings of all the mortgages, and he was able to find whatever he could pick and choose for what he could come up with. He found something specifically as an example with New York Attorney General Letitia James on mortgage fraud, a few other and charges, and that was initiated by him, and he brought it to the Justice Department. Okay, and what happened is that 3 grand juries threw out the indictment. So they got one, and then they kept, and 3 grand juries, that was the end of it. 3 grand juries threw it out, you see. But the case, I believe that there's still the government, President Trump, and the Justice Department are still trying to appeal. And now you've got here Pulte here in charge of the overall intelligence apparatus, and he's also in charge of the mortgages. He's still the mortgage chief. So you can imagine the power that this man is going to have. And as an ally of President Trump, I'm let you use your imagination there, and Letitia James defended herself, and her lawyer defended this as a weaponization of the Justice Department, of weaponization to get back as for retribution, because she got a big judgment against President Trump from New York. There were things, I'm not going to go there. You can look that up yourselves, because that's what this cartoon is about. This is about Bill Pulte here, and here he is. There's Bill Pulte, and that's what. So you could look that case with Letitia James up in New York, what transpired there. But I want to address this here as Bill Pulte now prepares to become the acting director of national intelligence, a great ally of President Trump, and has brought in, has done his best to act to act in terms of getting people indicted who President Trump feels that are not serving the American interest and are involved in weaponization of the Justice Department, or of weaponization of justice. And Bill Pulte was right in there and getting those indictments out, because Letitia James wasn't the only one. There were a lot of others, and you could read about that too. But that's not the focus here. So here's Bill Pulte. Bill Pulte is the focus. And here he is with President Trump, okay, in the Oval Office, just ahead of this. And here's here is President Trump. This is how, from President Trump's, what he has said in the past, I always do this, I put it together thinking about how President Trump's conversation with Bill Pulte might have gone. This is not taken from anything. This is my own creation, and how President Trump might have spoken to Bill Pulte ahead of this nomination, ahead of this appointment as the acting director of national intelligence. Okay, so I keep that in mind. This is Richards. Okay, now here's Bill Pulte here. I try to capture him as much as I could, his expression and his appearance there. And there he is, thumbs up. And here's President Trump here, how it might have gone. Okay, Bill, from your fantastic work of appointing yourself as chairman of the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Now, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are like they're mortgage entities They don't lend out money. They're not mortgagees. They're involved in financing mortgages. You see, what they do is they package it, all the mortgages that are made by banks and everything, and they package it all together, sell it to investors. You see, and they inject and they buy these things, these things, these packages that they put together from the banks. So they constantly supply the banks with money. They're supplier of banks with money. So the consequence of that is that Bill Pulte has access to all the mortgages that are going on and everything, all the things that go on in behind the curtains and all the details of mortgages, and he can get any access he chooses to do as the mortgage chief in that position still. So there you have that. So what Bill Pulte did was as soon as he got into that office, he was again he was in charge of the Federal Housing Finance Agency. He was in charge of that, and what he did was he basically took over as chairman of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, those two, I would say, finance arm of the federal government to keep the supply of money injected into banks to keep the economy going. Okay, so you get the idea of what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are. Okay, and then so Bill Pulte, as soon as he got that first position there, he went ahead and got himself appointed to head those positions. So probably the guys who were running it before him were washing the bathrooms or parking cars or doing something else, who knows? Okay, so that's how it went. Or fired, okay, who knows? Okay, but I'm just hypothesizing there, okay? And then going after crooked and corrupt individuals who supported a weapon. So President Trump is flattering him for all the accomplishments that he made in terms of getting those indictments, even though they didn't come to pass. And he feels that Pulte did his job in getting those things out to, after all, he did get one indictment going on Peekaboo Letitia James. President Trump has the name for he calls her Peekaboo, but he did get an indictment originally, but it was all reversed, and then he tried to appeal, and three grand juries turned it down and said there's no case here. So I'm sure they're gonna try again now with more ammunition here from Bill Pulte. He'll dig up something. I'm sure if there's something to dig up, he'll dig it up now. Because now he's director of national intelligence, and he is the mortgage chief. So that's Pulte. So Trump is giving him a pep talk here about how to go through and encourage him to pursue his agenda as he had done as in his first position, and now he's got these two positions. Okay. So anyway, so here he goes. After crooked and corrupt individuals supported a weaponized Justice Department like Peekaboo, his name for Letitia AG, that's his name for her, Letitia James, and then her charged with mortgage fraud. Okay? I'm not going to go into details with that either, that you can look up. You have earned this added position as DNI, Director of National Intelligence. And I know Todd Blanche, now who's President Trump's former attorney, now he's putting in a nomination, and he was appointed acting attorney general. So now President Trump is working on getting him to be confirmed as attorney general. Okay, so now these Republicans have two things going. They got Todd Blanche now, who's clearly I'm not going to go there, but he's done some questionable things, and which a lot of the Republicans didn't like. And now you got that on top of Bill Pulte. Bill Pulte's on top of that. On top of Todd Blanche, you got Bill Pulte coming in because President Trump doesn't have to confirm him because he's being appointed as acting. So President Trump bypasses the confirmation process there and gets Bill Pulte in there. And President Trump said himself that an acting an acting person has more power in that position because it's for a limited time, and people figure, well, he'll be out of here soon. What's the sense of raising hell about him? He's going to be gone soon. So President Trump probably figures, he said that. President Trump said an acting person has more power than a confirmed person, legit in that position, in any position. He made that general statement. So there you have that. Okay, so Pulte is going to have a lot more power with that, President Trump feels, without going through the hassle of confirmation, okay, which he'll have to go through with Todd Blanche, okay, and that's enough for now, okay, and then okay, you have earned this added position. I know Todd will do better than Pam Bondi, because Pam Bondi President Trump, I think, was a little disappointed in Pam Bondi in getting convictions, okay, for us and the American people. And I know you will not let that rigged California primary be repeated in November. So President Trump was really talking out about that California primary, calling it rigged out there because it took too long. And he said, well, all this time they were spending was on rigging the election. They won't do nothing else but rigging the election. And people from California came back and said that's part of our procedure, that it takes a long time. But President Trump wanted no part of that, and he just said that was a rigged election rigged primary election out in California. Okay, and there that was. Okay, and that was it here. Okay, all right. Now I have part 2 of this presentation is here. Mitch McConnell comes out of the closet here at the Capitol and pokes his head out of the Capitol here to say something. He's retiring pretty soon. So he's getting his last 2 cents in, and here he is. Here's Mitch McConnell hiding behind the dome of the Capitol, and he's really going peekaboo here behind the Capitol. He don't want no problems with nobody now. He's once retired smoothly, but he don't want to go out. He wants to say something. He wants to get those 2 cents in, those last 2 cents. So here I'm going to read you this here. Again, here's a close-up of Mitch McConnell. Kind of hiding behind the Capitol there, the dome's peeking out, peekaboo Mitch, All right. Years ago, I used to call him Sing-Along Mitch after this singer Mitch, who had a TV show, Sing Along with Mitch, and everybody used to sing with him. He had a beard, and I used to call Mitch McConnell years ago Sing Along with Mitch, and sing like he sang along with President Trump, So now he's sticking out of the head out of the Capitol here, putting his 2 cents in. Maybe I should call him now Peekaboo Mitch. There he is, Peekaboo Mitch. Okay, there he is. And here's the story here. Republican Senator Mitch McConnell pokes his head out of the U.S. Capitol to make a statement suggesting that President Donald Trump's pick for acting director of national intelligence, Bill Pulte, is not qualified to serve in the role. Now, a lot of people saying, Bill, this is the truth here, 100%. I mean, this is no fabric. This is no, takeoff or anything like that. Bill Pulte does not have any experience in national intelligence. He has, and he's going to be directing who gets what intelligence and the coordination of our intelligence, everything else in this height of national concern. We've got a war going on with Iran, and now things are popping out with Cuba, and all this intrigue that could be going on here. So we got Bill Pulte now, who's the head of the director of national intelligence, has absolutely no experience in national intelligence. Now that is 100% the truth. From what I've read and everything across the board, I mean, I don't know Bill Pulte. I'm not saying that for myself, but from everything I read, it seems pretty reliable. 100%. It seems 100% reliable, because not all those people couldn't say all those same things. It's just not probable. So I'm going to go with that, and I'm saying that he doesn't. But President Trump here, it's obvious. President Trump knows that, but he feels he has confidence. First of all, President Trump has emphasized it's only a permanent position, and he's looking at 5. President Trump has said, I'm looking at 5 other people, very able and qualified, good people to take over. Everybody's work. Who's it going to be now? So who's that? So anyway, there you have that. So Okay, though not naming Pulte. Okay, so but what McConnell does here is for that President Trump, Donald Trump's pick for acting to national intelligence. Bill Pulte is not qualified to serve in that role, though not naming Pulte. So McConnell, everybody named Pulte. McConnell don't want no part of this deal. He don't want to get no tangles. He's going to just put in his little 2 cents there and check out and retire. But he's going to put his 2 cents, a little 2 cents here, and he's going to say, though not naming Pulte in his statement, McConnell made one thing clear. He would not vote for him to serve as DNI, Director of National Intelligence, in a permanent position. Okay, but that ain't going to happen. So it's no threat to President Trump, because President Trump is not going to nominate Pulte for a permanent position. So Mitch McConnell comes out of this clean, pretty clean, a little this, that, but not too bad, So, okay, and now he goes onward to the meat and potatoes of his message, of Mitch McConnell's message here. Here's the meat and potatoes of Mitch McConnell's message. Here we go. Here goes Mitch. Peekaboo, man. I gotta call him peekaboo because that's what he's doing here. He's really not confronting the situation, but he's putting his 2 cents. I repeat myself, but nevertheless, it looks that way for sure. Okay, very few Senate. Now here is Republican Senator Mitch McConnell saying this: very few Senate confirmable positions come with statutory eligibility requirements. Now, that's pretty advanced. Yeah. Now, what he means here is that for confirmation, anybody who is confirmed in that position, it's required by law that they have certain prerequisite, that they have certain qualifications. Okay. So they have eligibility requirements. Like when you were in school or college, you had to take a course, a prerequisite to take in like advanced physics. You had to have introductory physics, or you had to have an advanced biochemistry or something like that. Well, prerequisite, what McConnell is saying here, it's a prerequisite that the statutory eligibility requirements, that you be eligible, legitimately have the background to do the job, because it's so vitally important, which means nothing because President Trump ain't going to go there, okay? There are good reasons why the Director of National Intelligence is one of them. All right, there are good reasons. That's true. That's very, very, very scholarly of Mitch McConnell to say that. Very scholarly. But there's no point here, because President Trump isn't going to go in that direction. President Trump has 5 terrific people lined up who's interviewing to take over once Bill Pulte goes back as mortgage chief and resumes his responsibility. So I don't know how Bill Pulte is going to go back and forth. He's going to be the head he's going to be the mortgage chief and the intelligence chief. That's what it comes down to. So he's going to be checking out. One thing for sure is he's going to be checking on those a lot of mortgages are going to be checked, and he's going to be checking a lot of elections come November. That we know is definitely true for Bill Pulte. All right, folks. Thank you for watching my video. God bless you. Hang in there through these tough times, and I'll see you next time. Bye.